protect the public against the virus. I think that all we can do is just say thank you to the whole world and people who have invented a vaccine, and hope that with the advent of the vaccine and people getting themselves vaccinated, things will get better. Because otherwise, we will still be in this rut and not knowing how to combat the ailment. So, George, I mean, all I can say is people are very despondent, people are very angry, people are very sad. They've lost a lot of businesses. But I don't think you can put the blame on any particular person other than the virus.
Exactly.
You know, because I don't think anybody out there would wish people suffered in this manner.
In this manner. Chief.
Yes, just to take it from where Uncle Ken left off, for me, it's also been a moment of reflection, and I'm just extremely saddened. I think that this pandemic has shown how vulnerable we are as a people on the African continent. That there isn't any single major Pan-African effort that could even attempt to deliver a vaccine, let alone even deliver it, So we're all at the mercy of the big boys, So Ghana was described as a poor country to receive vaccines. And I asked myself, how much would it cost to put together a Pan-African effort? Maybe at the instance of this pandemic it would have been too soon to, but it shows that are we thinking, beyond bread and butter issues and planning for the future? And for me, this is a wake-up call to the African Union and to African leaders that it is really a disgrace that the continent doesn't have any proper intervention in place to protect us. So when Ebola came, we had to wait for some big pharmaceutical companies out of somewhere in Europe or North America to come and save us. Ebola, we're waiting to receive the vaccine. So what next? Are we always going to be waiting? There's a play titled "Waiting for Godot." It's one of the classical plays. It's like waiting for God. Keep waiting and waiting, and nothing happens. So I think that for us, it's a wake-up call for our entrepreneurs, for people with resources. It's not like we don't have resources in this country, in this continent. It's just that we don't have champions. People are not putting money in art, in science, and so we are not creating, we are not advancing, and we are not building a civilization, right? All we know to build more houses and acquire more cars. It's good to do so, but what are the people of wealth on the continent, institutions of wealth of the continent doing to fundamentally change, our future? And for me, this just one example of a vaccine that, regardless of all the wealth, whether it is legitimate or illegitimate wealth we have in this country, there isn't any visionary that could have said, okay, let me put money into something that could lead to saving people. So for me, it's a wake-up call, and I hope that eventually people will take up the challenge.
Okay, so a year down the line, it has been good, it has been good.
It has?
And it has been bad. You see? And so every situation has two sides. It depends on how you choose to look at it. It has been good in the sense that now, if anybody wants to take a very objective look at our society without being political, we can be very honest. It has been bad because who will be allowed to tell the truth? I say in Africa, everybody knows the truth. A child is not allowed to tell it. Until see them catch up before sending a call. But it's been good because it's exposed our systems which virtually do not exist. Look, we had things like COA FS working. People were scrambling for COA FS. I personally sent COA FS to so many people in different parts of the world before I traveled last year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what do we have? We have a scandal on our hands. Why? Because it's one of our very own. And then we gladly take vaccines. It's not wrong. We should take these jabs. We should take them. Where are they coming from? How are we as a people able to certify that these things are valid? If we were able to certify, then it means we should be able to have come up with these things, created them.
Just like Chief is saying.
Do you get my point? This conversation will probably follow one rope after the other. This thing has also taught us, in a good sense, to be innovative, to be creative. Look, somebody was telling us the movie industry has been stalled. Yeah. All of a sudden, stars spring up and TikTok is full. People are making money. And so, look, bad situations will be thrown at you. Look, how do you decide to turn these things around?
Exactly.
People have started businesses in this COVID era. And by virtue of the pandemic, look, they are thriving. People made a lot of money out of nose masks, PPEs, before everybody realized, hey, let's jump on this train. And so it depends on how we handle the situation. But truly, look, we are in a crisis. Our generation is obviously in a crisis. And it's high time we begin to think and tell the truth without being political a year down the line.
Mr. Jabon.
George, so I would wear my my marketing hat with this, and I probably would approach it a little bit different.
Okay.
If I sat on a corporate side,
Yeah.
the power of the arts has been used in shaping brand equity. So MTN, Vodafone, and Tigo would at some point invest in properties, in the arts, music, anything else, just to try and build what you might call brand love. So when I worked in Tigo as an example, it wasn't a challenger brand, it was a distant brand. But we used the power of the art to not just drive awareness, but to build a strong recall and to build what you might call equity. And if we did a brand evaluation, brand equity is a very powerful tool. But today, George, if I sat behind that same desk and we've been able to survive 1 year without these drivers, and the lines tell me that my brand equity is still strong, then I would question the next proposal that comes to me to sponsor an old school reunion or to sponsor an event as part of building my equity. Because I have found different ways of driving my brand to people using other channels, digital, anything else. So there'll be a lot of pressure on the arts again to re-justify, and I feel that it's a tall order. So for those within the space, it's a bigger ask now to go and say, let's go and do, say, Get Started across the country, or let's go and do Springboard across the country. It was great, and it's a fantastic platform.
Very.
But presenting to CEOs now, marketing directors would struggle to put a dollar number to that investment. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I've seen a very improved value chain. Because when COVID happened, suddenly we're saying, where are the motorbikes?
Yeah.
How do we clean up things? And so the biggest people within the commercial space now were not those who design advertising per se, but it was those who were on the sales front, because marketing is basically demand creation and demand fulfillment. So the marketing person the advertising person would create the demand, and the sales person would fulfill the demand. So COVID presented us with a very smart way of delivering value to people. And therefore, there's a very re-engineered distribution within Ghana today and globally, to an extent that there's so much e-commerce activity happening that I can buy things from China with ease. So distribution is now much more effective. The third thing that I realized is that customer centricity has increased. So suddenly, we are all trying to understand who our customer is. Where is the customer? And those who are powering research data are also cashing in. So he said that, look, people are making money now. Because it's easier for me to come to Joy to say, oh, I think your customers now are in say, Ashaman. They're listening to you now because people are going micro with data. And with the pandemic, people are beginning to be very analytical with data.
Very sure.
And with that, it means that we understand our customers much more. So it's forced us to think beyond the normal generic conversation of go sponsor an event or go do one thing or the other. And finally, for me, an observation is on the power of technology. I think the period has also forced some adoption. So assuming that our digital adoption was probably growing, say, 6% year in, year out, this pandemic compelled or forced adoption. Because if you're not plugged in, you were lost out. So there was a lot more content that has been created so far. And because of that adoption, we're doing super great. I might have to check the numbers, but I would assume that even the e-commerce or the mobile money acceleration was much more higher during the pandemic.
It would be, because you're not moving.
You're
The only way,
exactly.
and things were moving. Movement of people were
cash would be in your
curtailed.
pocket.
But items were moving. I mean, DHL was still working.
Yes.
I mean, FedEx was still working. Dispatch companies or some
We're still
delivery
working,
companies
yes.
were still working. I mean, restaurants that could operate had a strict instruction not to allow sit-ins. So the only thing you could do was deliver.
Fair.
You know, so delivery services. So movement was happening, just that people weren't moving.
Fair.
And if movement was happening and people weren't moving, then it would mean that the only way exchange could happen would be via a technological platform. So mobile money,
where
yeah,
I sit,
definitely.
George, these are just 4 observations. The power of brand, improved value chain, so far as distribution is concerned. Customer centricity is increasing. And the fourth one is the power of technology. What I can't answer now, because a dollar number or a CD number has not been placed on the creative arts sector, it is difficult to understand what the impact of COVID has been.
Exactly.
And therefore, how do we, in terms of financial gains, and therefore, how do we turn it around? And what do we need in terms of value to help drive the acceleration? But these are my initial
George,
thoughts.
I think that I want to respond to something.
Okay.
I want to
very
complicate
quickly. Yeah.
the first point he made.
Okay.
And I think that it will be very suicidal for any brand executive in any industry to think that, oh, we can do without the creative industry, because understand that equity.
Oh, not
brand,
without.
No, not
I
without
mean,
at all.
as in, just within the context. And I guess the point I just want to make is that your brand equity, your image, your reputation that you are enjoying today is not as a result of an instant action, but a build out of things that you have done
definitely,
over the years.
definitely,
So you are actually
definitely.
now enjoying the benefit of that engagement that you probably had with your audiences, with your clients, with
Exactly.
your, with your publics, through all the things
Through all the other things that you did.
So
Okay.
to reverse it, I would rather be more excited to see, okay, I'm now enjoying the dividends of a lot of the things that I did, so that even if I'm not doing them again because of COVID, there's still some kind of connection between me and my publics or my market, right?
I love that.
So what it means is that when the floodgates open again, I should be more eager to re-engage because I see that I can remain relevant if I invest in a reservoir, sort of. So that's another complicated way that I see it.
I love the
Yes.
complication. And I guess what I would add to this
Yeah.
is this, that the toolkit is one.
Yeah.
So in the toolkit is PR.
Yeah.
In the toolkit is an event. The toolkit is distribution, advertising. Everything else is in there. So without layer A, I've been able to survive without that.
Yeah.
So there are questions that would come up. So my thinking is that it's not the fact that you don't have need for an event, but it's just that in the absence of it, brands may have grown 15%, as an example.
Yeah.
So we have questions now to answer more.
Yeah.
So if you were building a business case for quarter one, quarter two, and quarter three, initially we were on a roll. So everything else seemed to fit perfectly. So I'm just saying that we need to gear ourselves to answer more
respond,
questions.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So
And
the
this is
answer you're
me
giving now,
thinking of when I'm with the
Fantastic.
brands
So-
guy.
Exactly.
And one last point I want to make is
Yes,
that
yes,
once, and I believe that some kind of normalcy would resume,
Of course.
people will be more eager to go out, to enjoy activities and to do things. So brands that are strategic can take advantage of, that resurgence.
and to bring it back.
Yes, and to connect more. So when we go and sit before the brands, when they push, we also push. When
we'll
they give
punch.
the point, we give the counter.
Exactly. All right. So you heard the thoughts from across the table, and we're going to be moving on with the conversation. You can also be part of this conversation, 055-1111-997. Gentlemen, have you seen Coming to America yet? The sequel?
Not interested.
Nana, have you?
I have not seen
Jesse,
it.
have
I've
you?
only seen the trailer.
I've seen the trailer and I've seen some excerpts.
You've seen some excerpts. Uncle Ken, have you?
No, I haven't.
You haven't had the pleasure of looking at it. Well, I'm going to read something from www.fashionghana.com. And the headline says, Ghanaian designer Efia Sechi's work dominates coming to America's beautiful fashion looks. Says a Ghanaian designer Efia Sechi's work was spotted in Coming to America, a movie which made its grand entry into the world of entertainment. The movie has received an extensive set of critiques ranging from positive to negative, mostly based on the comparison between that and the original story. We're going to go on the phone lines to speak to Efia, the lady who worked on design, style for the movie. Hello?
Hello,
Efia, how are you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
Very, very, very well. And welcome to Showbiz A to Z on Joy 99.7 FM.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations. I mean, those that have seen Coming to America, there's a lot of debate going on about it. First off,
Yes,
how
thank
did you get the opportunity to work in costume for, a great movie like that one?
The first was a piece from us, and I think they wanted to see how it will complement the look we have. So after the first shipment went, they felt they need more pieces to be able to sell more devices. So that is what happened, and then we sent the pieces over.
Very interesting. Okay, is this your first major movie break?
There was one before with Janet Jackson where a piece was used to style hair. The pieces have been used to style many celebrities in US and other countries.
Interesting. Would you like to tell us how much you were paid? Oh, just an idea. Okay, give us a range. Give us a range, not the exact figure, a range. Mm-hmm.
That will be later when I come to the studio. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've listened to some of the criticism that are coming. What are some of the criticisms that you've heard so far since the movie was released?
Yeah, it was mentioned that the original is more entertaining than what was released just recently. But I feel they try to incorporate more of the new trends we have here, and that is why they included more of the designers and then even included the video as well, just to, I think, create an idea about African fashion and then to push more of the designs we have now than what we have previously.
That's interesting. So, what did you have to travel to the States, or did they just reach out to you here from Ghana and you worked with them and just sent the material?
Yes, so they sent a mail regarding the pieces they wanted to use in the movie. So we designed it and then shipped it to them.
Okay. Are you the only Ghanaian designer who worked on this, or you worked with a team of other Ghanaian designers?
I was the only Ghanaian-based designer who worked on the design, but there was another Ghanaian designer in the States who was also involved in designing our system.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, congratulations. We're not going to take too much of your time. We'll look for time to bring you into the studio so that we can go deeper into your works properly. All right?
Thank you.
All right, Ifya. Congratulations one more time.
Thank you very much.
That is Ifya Sechi there, Ghanaian designer who had an opportunity to work on the beautiful movie that is making the rounds now, coming to America. We've got a spotlight on the legendary Professor Atukwe Okaing. And don't forget, Showbiz A to Z is proudly brought to you by Ghana's most reliable mobile telecommunications network. That's MTN everywhere you go. And High Five Chocomalt. That is the new normal. We'll be back. Take a listen to this.
Atukwe Okaing is a Ghanaian poet, cultural activist, and academic. He is Secretary General of the Pan-African Writers Association and former president of the Ghana Association of Writers. With his poems deeply rooted in oral tradition, Atukwe is generally acknowledged to be the first spoken word artist to emerge from Africa. Logoligi Logarithms and Oath of the Phantom from two of the great works by Professor Atukwe Okaing, a master of the spoken word.
Ting kong 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 ting kong kong ting kong 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 ting kong kong. Anthony William Amu of our ancient uprooted but equalizing diaspora. Kesley Hayford, where are you? Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia, where are you? Ubecha Bilante and Joseph Boachi Dankwa, are you there?
His early work was published under the name John Okaing. His performances on radio and television worldwide include a 1975 appearance at Poetry International at the Queen Elizabeth Hall in London, where he shared the stage with renowned poets. After some years of his work being published in newspapers and magazines, Okaing's first major collection, The Oath of the Phantom from, and other poems were published in 1971 by Searman and Schuster in New York. It was followed in 1974 by Logoliki Logarithms. His poems have been translated into several languages, including Russian, Spanish, German, Arabic, French, and Italian.
From ancient Alexandria's Pompeii's pillar, from Gabel Abdel Nasser's Cairo Tower, together with Sando Anof, I do not cower before the cold force of winds.
It's Showbiz A to Z.
And at some point in the show, we're going to be crossing over to his family to speak to one of his daughters. Just as you are, you struck our Friday with sorrow, kept our Saturday with tears and wails, and sank our Sunday onto its feet. So let crying women cry and our sobbing men continue to sob. You are our fallen king. You are our fallen hero. Just as you are, you liberated this genre of ours from its shackles. Lit it up with your flame on stage and opened up its doors to all. So let crying women cry and our sobbing men continue to sob. You are our fallen king, you are our fallen hero. Just as you are, you raised the valley into an ancient mountain of pride and created a sacred shrine for it and its land, our motherland. So let crying women cry and our sobbing men continue to sob. You are our fallen king. You are our fallen hero. It's long. There's no doubt Professor George Quaye is one of the greatest poets in Ghana and indeed Africa, associated with a trailblazer of performance of poetry in Ghana and Africa at large. He's got a lot of poems to his credit. Popular among them include the Logolegi Logarithm, 999 Smiles, Rosemaya. That's the most popular, I think. And the one that I just read for you calls it Just As You Are. We heard of his death on Friday, 13th of July in 2018 at age 77. He was born March 15th. And indeed, Monday he would have turned 80. In defining our cultural perspectives, the power of spoken word poetry, today he is the man on our spotlight. We're looking at verbal art, particularly the spoken word. It has gained some ascendancy as a performing art in the last couple of decades, and as we mark Ghana Month, Showbiz A to Z today is looking at the role and power of the art of spoken word in defining our cultural perspectives as a nation. How does and has spoken word contributed to ascertain our national culture, enhancing cultural education, particularly among our younger generation, and shaping and optimizing the creative economy, developing a new youth performance culture? And we've got talented poets in the studio. Today, Jesse would even do a poetry performance for us, and Uncle Ken would also give us one too. But right about now, I'm going straight to Chief Moment, after which we'll go to Nana Sase. Chief, over to you.
I wrote in honor of our recovery from COVID and in honor of our medical people. When all is said and done, when through the efforts of our medical brigade and God's grace, we overcome those challenging moments, when we can touch, greet, hug, kiss one another again, when we can stand toe to toe as the masjid and supplicate with Allahu Akbar, when we can scream our hallelujahs and turn to our neighbors and shout amen, when we can gather again with friends on a Friday night to share some laughter and some bottles. So bolo for me though. When we can go queue bumper to bumper on a Saturday morning at our favorite watcher joint in our neighborhood, or gather on a Sunday afternoon around a heavy asanka containing some hefty fufu swimming in a bunubunu in the company of snails and akarantie. When we can travel again across the beauty of our country. The hot and dry magic of the savannah, where the shea butter will moisturize your skin and bring out your ebony gleam, and the Tozafi and Ayoyo will bring peace to your soul. Across the east through the charming allures of the mountainous abode of Togbe, where the Fetrigeti will light up your spirits, when we can adorn our magnificent kente from Bongwe and move our ahinema feet to the rhythms of the kete, when we can swim again from the sunlit, oil-rich golden beaches of the west down to the coconut groves along the Elmina coast, where you can toast with the drink of life, into the vibrant shores of Gamashi, where you can dance to the rhythms of the Wulome, and massacre some balls of kinke with small pepper in the company of jolly friends. When we can do all of this and more, when life gets back to normal or close to the normal that we knew, it will be because when it matters the most, you, the health workers, stood in our defense and sacrificed your time, effort, and even lives that we might live and triumph. Your names may not be mentioned, your faces may never be known, your deeds may fade quietly into the night, and we may wake up on the glorious day like nothing ever happened. But God knows what you did, and in this poem shall be your monument for all time.
This poem shall be your monument for all times. One piece from the man, Chief Mumin, written for around the COVID-19 period. Yeah, Jesse, you also have a poem, yeah?
We all go.
All right, Nana Sase, let's hear you.
Okay, this one is entitled Kembiu. So Kembiu, as a poem, has its own linguist. Unfortunately, Kembiu's linguist is not here. It is performed in a typical African fashion where when the music is good, you pay to hear it twice. And so when someone is performing and you feel it is good, you call for him to repeat the line. Yet the poem is also dedicated to the African woman, extolling all her virtues, her values, and all of it. And then this is International Women's Month. Inti ebe Kembiu.
Kembiu.
Oba tuntum sono se odie. Mincha wasem kaso. Wo de serie bru hienu so menne ye frem yodefo. Or therefore, as I say, my shen sem de sense and don't de be someone that san. My share messia me hunu met tim susa na joba di uhucha. We your crack on dia uhuni dem. Esan we ye biasononko. Upie wi akete anasrajo. Ukra suban painting so mama puma. Yenti udim basabasa na to mountain so bisa. Obi banyansa kukua ye de ko badwem bensio anajoba. Nyansa ntempe ni nwimu. Inti won de be hata won sin to so se yen hwehwe pane anajo nanso wo kire sempo ne tekudi ahamasina pane anajo da suom abrewati ebu nani a wote ase utumrika yen se wabotre fisi wotutu nan sisi de biri watifo ani so ahamanache bosio de somawi ahoho me hwe kire makora ma mo ahima wonante watumpan so meka makire mato makire maada se sue hunu nyansa oba tuntum so no se wo de minwie wo honwom to Oba ma fa ho adwempa bi ma me mfa nto ye na mfiri anto ho ya me fe se ne ampanin kasa ya me de wo de mpanin se ma che me kwakwanti mesusu bribi sa adwenkese mankoto e frem se ma na free soro to ma me susu nkan nya se be wakoma mu de sa aso anajoba me kan kasa kwa me nto sebe na hema na ode wo ti ase wonim te sa hemfo pie mu ahwehwe owo miempo nim se mensi wo fam oba tuntum so no se ode minwie wo ho asemka ankochia me agye me so Kembiu. That's it.
Kebio. It's Ghana Month on Joy 99.7, of course. Nobody does it better than we do right here. We're going round the table to pick poems from all our panel members. Jesse, you ready?
I wish you good answer because my mind is loading, but anyway, let's go.
Okay, Jesse is ready. Let's go.
So let me pretend this is grounded on love.
Exactly.
And relationship.
Exactly.
And being a Christian, I take my love and inspirations from the Bible.
Okay.
So I run straight to the Songs of Solomon. And in the Songs of Solomon, I would find my hope, in which I would try and match with my peers in the studio and prove to them that a Zimmer born in Bubuashe shall survive this test given by Joy FM. And with that I read.
Go ahead.
I have compared thee, O my love, to the company of horses in Pharaoh's chariots.
Charlie.
Thy cheeks are comely with rows of jewels, thy neck with chains of gold. We would make thee borders of gold with studs of silver. While the king sitteth at his table, my spikenard sendeth forth the smell thereof. A bundle of myrrh is my love, is my well beloved unto me. He shall lie all night betwixt my breast. My beloved is unto me as a cluster of camphire. In the vineyard of Engedi, behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes. Behold, thou art fair. My beloved, yea, pleasant. Also, our bed is green. The beams of our house are cedar, and our rafters of fir. George, I am done. Thank you very much.
Amen.
This is where you clap.
Man. You do all. Uncle Ken.
Yes, George.
Jesse has raised the marking
Is this
scheme.
from Revelations? Or
Jesse has beaten me to it because you guys would know that whenever it comes to reading, I have always chosen
Love themes,
as my
yes.
theme.
Yeah.
But Jesse has beaten me to that.
He has been fast.
He's been very fast.
Very,
so I'm
very
not
fast.
going to go on that path. I'm going to read something by a Ghanaian by name Oswald. What's his name? Oswald Okante.
Oh, yes.
Our own Oswald.
Yes, your very own Oswald Okante. And he titles this Corona Night. This Corona night shall surely pass, and we shall stand and look back at its strand, marveled at the pains caused by its might. Then we shall gather the residues of our broken selves, mend them together, and be strengthened into a better future. Then, with tears, we shall write this night down on one page, speak of it on one stage, and raise a new dawn devoid of panic and fears. But till then, we are at a war front, crying and chanting, and screaming, and slaying, and wailing with hope that this night, begotten from the city of Wuhan, shall not live long, that a new sun shall rise and bring us a new day.
here, here.
Uncle Ken, that is touching. That is really touching. I mean to have to do some.
Hey.
Yeah? But we can go on.
Yeah, we can go on.
We can go on. Let's go on.
But you came with one. If you don't read it, you feel bad. So just read it for us.
Showbiz A to Z is probably brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go and high five Chocomo, that's the new normal. And you know, as always, MTN wants you to experience the safest and most secure way to enjoy MTN Momo. Yeah, that's what we're talking about right here. That's why from the 2nd of April 2021, you're going to be required to present a valid national ID card anytime you visit a Momo agent point to perform a transaction. Please know that this is to help you keep receiving cash and just handling your transactions in a safe and secure way. And that's why we're good together. Just Momo it everywhere you go. And if you want to be refreshed, High Five Choco Malt is the best for you. It is the first malt drink with chocolate flavor to make you break loose. High Five Choco Malt refreshes you most when needed with its perfect blend of chocolate and malt. Yep, enjoy the malt and feel the chocolate. It comes in 3 unique flavors and it's available at a cool price of just 3 Ghana cedis. It's the new normal and it's best served chilled, available in all supermarkets and shops. Another quality product from Casapreco Company Limited. If you want to buy it in bulk, please call 0262 351 251 or 0272 133373. Now, did you know that all the money you spend staying out late with the boys could give you 720 hours of unending entertainment with your family for a month? Talking about mouth-watering local drama on Rock GH Africa Magic, spicy or telenovelas fresh from Star Life, an international series ready to be devoured. There's a double serving of adrenaline on our sports channels, scrumptious heart-stopping actions with the latest blockbusters, and the sweetest kiddie shows for the little ones. So which would you prefer? With GoTV Max, fantastic entertainment is more affordable than you think. So if you're a light value or plus subscriber, upgrade to GoTV Max and qualify for a discounted price of 60 Ghana cedis for enjoyment that lasts longer. You can also get full GoTV decoder set with 1 month plus subscription, now reduced from 109 to 89 Ghana cedis only. Please don't miss this limited offer, which lasts till 31st of March 2021. Visit an accredited dealer or connect via my GoTV app. GoTV, just love it. That's it. Okay. Let me tell you quickly about the kiddie quiz, and then we just get back into the conversation. The maiden edition was very educative, inspiring, and fun. And our bubbly children dazzled our audience with their display of rare intelligence and academic prowess. But this year even promises to be exciting, even more exciting than the previous year, more educative and very competitive as we draw schools together. Let the battle for supremacy in Ashanti region basic schools begin in 2021 Kiddie Quiz. It's going to be live on Love FM, Ghana's first educational channel, Joy Learning, supported by Alpha and Omega Publications. Love FM's Kiddie Quiz shows live on Monday, Tuesday, and Fridays at 1 p.m. and repeats on Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. on Joy Learning. And on Joy Prime, Kiddie Quiz is on Tuesday to Friday at 3:30 p.m. Remember, all COVID-19 protocols are going to be highly observed throughout the event. Kiddie Quiz is brought to you by Love 99.5 FM, Alpha and Omega Publications, and Joy Learning. Keep learning. Time check 24 after 4. We're gonna get into our conversation shortly. And as I indicated earlier, we're gonna be speaking to some of the beautiful daughters Professor Quaye left behind. We're gonna find out if there are any plans for, remembering him come Monday, 15th of March, 2021. The day he's gonna turn 80. Dear Joy FM. Okay, James Tega from Teshi, we've seen your message, but I'm not gonna read it. This one says, George, I want you to play me Abeku by Nana Tufo, Kwesi Inside Bolgatanga. Kwesi, good to know you tuned in. Dear George, these are fantastic tunes. Wow, Rexoma, Papa Youngson, you got me parking and dancing. Bruh, God bless you. John Inside Danceman sent that one through. Good afternoon, George. You started it just right. Let's party. The one is from Skero. Oh, hello, Skero of the Late Night Clan. How's everybody in the Late Night Clan doing? Good to know you all enjoying the party. We've also got conversations coming up on 3 Music. There was a 3 Music branch. They had some awards that were distributed at the 3 Music branch, and we'll get into it shortly. So let me come to the studio. Gentlemen, let us go into our poetry conversation. Really, Nana, perhaps I should start with you. Really, what is the importance of poetry on our culture? Because you appear to be someone who's taken an angle that seems to portray your kind of poetry as a cultural poet of a sort. Yeah. You like to deliver in the local dialect. I have seen you perform. You performed at my cousin's 50th birthday ceremony. You performed with music and all that, and it was very, very traditional, very cultural, very relevant. So, really, how relevant is poetry to our culture?
Okay. And so, poetry as an art form has been with us since day one. Now let me direct you to poetry if you've missed it.
Yeah.
Okay. So poetry is the kind of thing that happens when you wake up in the morning and you slip on the mat right in front of your bed. You hit your head on the floor and you say Aji. The kind of thought that goes through your head is poetry. Or you are hungry, you feel like eating some wache, it's some beautiful poetry. Or you are in a trot and the windows are rattling, and the driver's gears making that crude noise and the mate is screaming for his, all those multitones are some beautiful poetry.
Or the mate stretches his hand and
Charlie,
armpits blows past your nose.
Charlie, shout out to Sydney. That is poetry. I believe that poetry is a skill of handling language to have a desired effect on your audience and to elicit a desired response. Once these three things are accomplished, you have had poetry and, in essence, communication. Dealing with the economy of language. Now, poetry is good for education. Look, our elders would cram a lot of proverbs and throw them at you, but poetry has a beautiful way of appealing to you without getting you emotionally shattered. It has a sabbatical way. Let me use that word. It has a sabbatical way of wrapping things up for you. Now, poetry is a certain unifier beyond what sports does, beyond what things like politics would do. Poetry has the ability to do things of the sort. Because if you stand before an audience and you speak their language, look, you've spoken to the person's soul. No matter what you do, this person is going to listen to you. Poetry gives us a form of entertainment. Now, the poet never goes to stand in front of his audience without doing his research. And so he comes to give you information. He comes to give you education. So beyond these three things as well, poetry is sometimes just meant to confuse you. Just because sometimes not getting it is part of getting it. But essentially, I believe that poetry gets you to get your mind working. Let me throw all these things off. Poetry is some very good business, my brother. The art of oratory, the art of public speaking, the art of poetry is some very good business, depending on how you choose to look at it. Let me take you back into time, way beyond 1964, when I was a people teacher in Sankre-Gwadisi. When a king would sit in state and a master orator would be called to deliver, this man would have been paid months ahead to prepare a special poem for this king as he probably walks in state, or before he speaks, someone is in state to deliver appellations to this man. Look, poets have been historians years over. Poets have been people who have kept genealogies. Poets are linguists. The linguists you meet in the king's court are essentially poets. Poets have, in certain places, been magicians or carried the arts that go beyond the physical. Poets have been healers because they are in commune with the divine. What we do is beyond the physical. Poetry is really deep. And so I believe that I could keep going and on and on.
Yeah.
And on, but
where I'm waiting for you to nail it for me is where it connects with our culture. You understand?
Poetry simply comes from who we are as a people.
Okay.
Look, I can't come and stand before an array of chiefs and start rapping hip-hop stuff. It won't make meaning to them. I would have to be speaking their language. Poetry is fueled by our history. Poetry is fueled by the things that keep going on around us. Poetry is fueled by our innate emotions, thoughts, and all these things. And more importantly, these things are given to us by society. So as poets, we are either there to just reflect or refract what society has placed in us. Okay. I feel that is what poetry does for us, from its place in our culture. Poetry is that elevated tongue or language that we. I dare say it's a whole language by itself with its own set of vocabulary.
Interesting.
We'll pursue that further.
Chief, I'm not going to ask you the same thing. Because we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to go straight into it. As a country, have we placed premium on poetry to make it an art form that children would want to grow up to be? When you go to school and you're speaking to kids, would you ever get to hear a child say, you would hear, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a that and that? Would you ever? Has poetry been positioned in that space where a child would aspire to want to be a Nana Sase or a Chief Moment when he grows up?
To be able to answer this question, I have to delve into the way the Nana answered your question, because you must look at poetry as an essence of humanity. At the basic level, one of the distinguishing feature of human beings as against, Homo sapiens as against any feature is our gift of language, our ability to express complex ideas, feelings, and emotions into words and carry them forth, right? So that is at the very foundation of poetry, it's expression. It's just that what we understand as poetry today is a higher form of that expression. So when you look at our religious texts, whether it's the Torah, it's the Bible, or it's the Quran, the expression is in poetry because it is a higher form and it is able to express bigger meaning. So at the very primal level, poetry is just language, it's human expression, and it is human expression that manifests itself in different contexts, and Nana has given you the various contexts. So in one breath, it's not like something that you can say it's a profession. It's just like saying is language a profession. Of course, there have been professions that have come out of poetry. So in traditions past, we had the griot. Now the griot was the historian of our African people. We know that a lot of our African cultural cultures were oral traditions. Oral traditions means information, knowledge, history was passed down in words, in music, in songs, in expression, right? So one of the most important feature of this genre is the historical nature, the preservation of culture and history and complex ideas transformed over generations. So when we talk about today, my tradition, our culture, it's because they've been handed down through a medium of communication, through a medium of protocols that are expressed. So from that very basic level, I mean, poetry is a medium of expression that anybody, regardless of wherever you want to end up, whether you want to be a pilot, a doctor, that expression is something that you can harness. Obviously, in our modern age, there are ways in which that scale of expression can find itself manifest in different fields. So my answer to this question is that yes, so it has to be multifaceted. In one respect, we have to encourage people to express themselves. That's the very basic, to develop the language competence, whether in their local dialects or in the borrowed tongues that they are speaking, to be able to express yourself, because expressing yourself is important wherever you find yourself. Now, as people grow and they show more interest in certain fields, then we can further develop so writers, people who work in advertising, people who work in broadcasting, even pastors, people whose work revolves around the art of expression. If they had a very good foundation growing up, then they can excel in their fields. Then there are people like myself and Anasasi who actually do the highest form of that expression, and I'm using highest in quotes, not to say it is better than, but as in actually you talk and you perform poetry for a living. Yes, if there are spaces for us to showcase our talents, and I think some of it is happening. In the last decade, we've taken the performance very seriously. We featured on national platforms, on television here. You've seen the whole, a number of younger people who are embracing the art form. So you just have to look at it from multifaceted angles, and then at the very basic, just develop the ability to express yourself confidently and, I dare say, artistically, because at the end of the day, that is what poetry is.
You've gone into inspirational mode, but I was looking more at as a nation, what we have done to progress it. Because the next question that I'm going to ask Jesse, for instance, has to do with he is a marketing communicator. If Nana Sase or Chief Mumen walked up to him and said, "Look, I have a catalog of poems that I have put together. I want you to sell it." Would you find the market for it, Jesse?
So should I answer now and then you go back to me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So have I tried it before? So I remember in one of my pitches as an agency out of Tigo. So there was a tender that happened, and I did a presentation at Access Bank. And I'm giving that specific example. Now, I felt that there was a way that, because it was a bank that was driving its campaign in the informal sector. So of all the banks, you probably would see that they are doing a lot of informal sector activity. And I felt that there was a way that they could connect with the grassroots outside of the traditional way of campaigning. So I said I wanted to try it and see whether poetry could be pitched as a way of advertising or as a way of communicating. Because I'll come back to what you said earlier. Now, the idea made sense to the team, but it didn't see the light of day. And the reason I pitched it was because I felt that the products they were selling was relevant to a cohort of individuals who understood that language. So to test the system, I got a poet from Kipcoz, I've forgotten the boy's name, who did a beautiful rendition thinking about the bank and the products. And George, it was fantastic. It was super awesome. So there's a place where poetry would fit in. Now, guess what? He had made a point that poetry is language, and he's right. There's common tongue that we all speak. There's a normal English, I would say, where are you going, which is fine. And somebody might complicate it and say, give you a proverb. And what's a proverb? A proverb would say, and a jari kono yeah, whatever be the case. And that's a proverb. So that's also language. That's also an expression. And then there's poetry, which is one that you can commercialize in an amazing way. Now, as a marketing person, all these can be used in selling a product. So if I told him today to build a commerce for Joy FM and tell me a story, extempo. Now, if I say, tell me a story about Joy, he can create content for me. Give me a content. Now, try.
Sharp.
For Joy.
They paid you? They paid you already?
Yeah, 2,000.
No, make me see that.
You see, and I love the way he does his things, right?
Yeah.
Moment, can I try?
Yeah. Oh, no, of course.
For Joy FM, try.
Oh, you want me to give something?
Yes.
Oh.
For now, I'll connect.
On the better hammer.
Let's go.
Okay.
Try.
So, waking up each morning, facing the drudgery of life, the one thing that keeps me going is keeping my dial on 99.7 to inform, refresh, and entertain me, carry me through the days.
Good. Now pause on that thought. You would cut this piece, right? And you begin to loop it every week. Now, for me, I will call it creative advertising. That's in what you might call the progressive language. So he's a creative advertiser. To him, it's poetry. So it's the same thing, but it's understood differently. So the question you're asking is, why have we not made it relevant in our in our growth as a country? We have. We just haven't consistently and every day called it poetry. He said to you that poetry is when your head hits the ground, the thought that comes to mind immediately is Ajay, I didn't leave your form. Ajay, I didn't know me. Ajay, that's poetry.
Sure.
He says that okay, so when I get home and I'm telling you about my life during the day and men are being dramatic about the things that happen to them, that's poetry. But at home you might call it normal language or cancer much.
Just so hold on. Sorry, I'll tell you why I don't agree.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is this, that we've picked what you want to call poetry.
Yeah.
And packaged it differently and expressed it differently.
The poetic impulse.
Yes. So for me, it's the expressions that might look as if poetry is not a part of us. Let me give you a classical example. Those days, it would have been easy for me to watch Mame Dokno on TV.
Yeah.
Listen to her tell us a story. Now, we had a communal way of living without technology. So the power of poetry and storytelling was sold directly. You felt it.
Yeah.
Then community started growing. And that language changed a little bit. The gong beater's job hasn't changed. The message is the same. The messenger is the same. But he's now communicating through social media. And because he's reaching more people who might not share the similar identity, he can't rattle the same way he's rattling because the language has changed. So for me, sometimes when I think of creative advertising, I feel it's also poetry that has been mixed a little bit with common tongue that makes it appealing to listen to now. But poetry hasn't changed because it's creativity. It hasn't changed.
Okay. Uncle Ken, let me go to Uncle Ken before I come back to you.
Yeah.
What the three gentlemen have said scares me. Because as a student of theater, who understands, because what Jesse has said, I would not see it as poetry. I see it as communication, in which I can use poetry, drama, or prose.
You're flipping
deliver
it,
the
which
same
is fair.
message. You understand? I can use. So it may not always be poetry.
Poetry.
It could be drama. It could be prose. It could be any other style of
There could
delivery.
be poetry in drama.
But
and
it could be
poetry
poetry
in
in
drama.
drama.
Exactly.
So
you come
So
back to
you're
the
back to the
same.
Hold on. But when I go back into history,
Yeah.
when I go back into history, the beginnings of theater per se, and I go into say historical writings from someone like Aristotle, where he
You
tells
mean
me
the beginnings
hold
of
on.
Greek
when I'm
theater?
going, yes, the Greek theater. You know,
So
I'll
classify
bring it. I'll bring
No,
it.
classify
I'll
it.
draw the line to our situation.
Okay.
And I look at
I'll land
the
him on culture very soon.
yeah, you know, I look at the beginnings where he tells me that once upon a time they used to sing the dithyrambics, which were the choruses, and that was their theatrical presentation where they are just singing, and there's an audience watching in an amphitheater. And then one day, a certain gentleman called Thespis, the reason all actors are called thespians or performers are known as thespians, a certain person called Thespis detached himself from the chorus where they were singing the dithyrambics, and then he decided to talk back at the chorus, which was where the actor was born.
Fair.
And he is known as the very first actor that we ever had. Now, when I look at that single act by Thespis of Icarius or Icasius or somewhere, let's forget where he comes from, and I bring it to our concept of the Ochiame in the king's court, or I go back to the concept of your gong beater, or whoever is singing the appellations when the king is coming to
Or your
sit in
traditional
court,
storyteller.
or your either way. When I look at that synergy,
changed.
exactly, and I listen to what you are telling me now, I am inclined to believe that we are killing what traditional
Can I say
poetry
one thing?
is supposed
George,
to be.
Can I say one?
Hold on, let me
one
hear
thing?
from Uncle Ken
No,
before.
I wanted to correct something small.
Okay.
You said the first actor and wherever he comes from.
Yes.
That's the problem. Because wherever you come from is what shapes your culture.
Yes, but where he comes from, that concept is not too different from the concept of the Ochiame in the King's Court.
Yes, okay,
Who
but
is speaking?
maybe
Who speaks before anybody else?
Yes, but you see, Judge, maybe after Uncle Ken.
Yes,
My thinking is that the concept of where you come from is important because socialization changes the way we communicate and how we live our lives.
We are saying the same thing, and I'm saying if we are going to go by that logic, then we may kill what traditional poetry is supposed to be eventually. Uncle Ken, and we have a beautiful poem.
We'll respond. Let Uncle Ken.
Kenneth Shigbe has sent us a very beautiful poem. I'll read it at some point. Uncle Kenneth Shigbe, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
George Quaye.
Yes, sir.
I was very happy when I heard that I was coming to meet two of the most distinguished.
Yeah.
2.5. Two.
No. No, if you meant yourself, then it's 3, not 2.5. Then I would go for 3. 3 of the most distinguished personalities who could actually answer some of the questions that I came up with regarding poetry.
Yeah.
And I am happy I'm here this afternoon. Now, my first question, out of my research, I found out something that I want you to answer for me. That poetry has been defined as heightened language and very artistic use of language, which puts language into verse and concentrates on rhythm.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of definitions, but I get the essence of this definition as opposed to everyday communication.
Correct.
Everyday
Sure.
language,
What I'm calling
Sure.
Yes.
And you
That's why I
realize
use-
that. Sorry, Chief,
No,
not to
no,
cut you. I mentioned that poetry is the elevated tongue.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you're using poet as a skill of handling language to have a desired effect on your audience and then to elicit a desired response from them.
But that elevation varies from society
from
to society,
society to
and
society.
context
Yes.
to context,
Nice one.
you know,
Nice one.
and person to person.
He's answering you now.
It's not a.
Yeah,
it's not. It's a spectrum.
I am, yeah.
You know.
I'm happy
Yeah.
that you answered. And then,
No, you, George.
and then my second point that I came to,
Okay.
that there need not even be predictable rhyme or rhythm
Yes.
Of course.
for a piece of literature to be considered a poem.
Thank you.
Yes, predictable rhyme or rhythm.
Predictable.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously
There need
there's
not be.
There need
some musicality to words.
Correct,
that's-
because I've heard poets recite with jazz music background, and I enjoy them even more.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
And then my final one was that in a poem, instead of sentences and paragraphs, you find lines and stanzas.
Okay.
Oh well, this is more or less like our Western borrowed education of writing poetry, and
Okay.
iambic, pentameter, and stanza. That's what I'm saying. Poetry varies from context. So yes, from that academic point of view, I can understand the nature of this definition. But I mean, the kind of poetry Nanas I said does, for
Does.
example, may not. There's no need to flow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I broke the stanza box
Yeah?
and I killed the writer's block.
Okay.
So I don't have these two things ever in my dictionary. I
Ever
teach my
in
students
your
to
delivery.
break the stanza box such that even if you wrote science fiction, you would still be reading poetry because the art of the language is highly poetic. That refined skill of handling the language. I give you poetry in prose form, like when you're reading an epic.
Yeah.
An epic doesn't need to rhyme. It goes on and on.
It
It's
goes
telling
on
you a
and
story,
on. Yeah,
but
it
you
tells-
realize that
yeah.
you're in a very elevated
I think
state.
when I understand where Uncle Ken is coming from, and for a lot of traditional poetry students, I think the biggest effect is that Shakespearean iambic pentameter style of
issue.
writing, which has affected a lot of. I am a victim of that. When you look at the poems that I've written, I am always desirous of finding a rhyme scheme.
Should we therefore say that,
think that-
if I take the concept of rhythm or rhyme
Yeah.
out of say a 15-line speech in quotes, then it fails to be a poem.
Make it a 14 line so it's a sonnet.
Okay. So am I to assume
Yeah.
that if I take out the rhymes that he has,
Yeah.
out of say a 15-line structure, then it suddenly doesn't become poetry?
No, I mean,
No, that's not it.
No, you see, and that is where I was coming from.
Yes,
that
that's-
we could be killing what traditional
Traditional
poetry
is supposed to be.
Because even when you listen to some of our linguists and certain, even in their presentations, there were some rhyme scheme. There was some rhyme, some flow. When they are reciting those appellations, and you listen to, there is a poet from Nigeria called the Sage. I don't know if any of you have followed him. When the Sage is delivering his poetry, you'd have good bumps on your body, and the rhyme schemes sometimes make them sweeter. Of course, you understand what Jesse is saying. I could just be reading prose.
Yeah.
And it's not poetry. It is not the same.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
but
what
to
Jesse is
answer
saying,
It may not be poetry.
it may not be poetry.
But are you saying emphatically it's not?
No.
Yeah, just
It may or may not be.
It may
So I
not
like,
be.
I like the operative word
it
of
may
may.
not
Yes.
be.
Jesse,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
did
shoot.
you listen to what the question I posed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I said that there need not be even a predictable rhyme or rhythm scheme for a piece of literature to be
poetry.
considered a
Exactly.
poem.
Yes.
So that answers your point.
George, I think it's important that we reset this conversation so that our audience are not confused.
not confused.
You know, it's becoming very technical.
Yes.
We understand that there's everyday conversation.
Yeah.
And we understand that there's an art form called poetry
Yeah.
that has evolved across every culture in this world,
Yes.
in addition to ours here in Africa. We also understand that we are living in an era where we have borrowed Western education and we are using English language, which came with its own rules, and the rules are broken and remade.
To
For
the extent
example,
that even today, when the
Nana
Queen
says
writes
that
English,
not
yes,
use
right.
English.
even
So-
when the Queen writes English, a Kenyan marks it.
Nana,
Yes,
do you
so
use
within
English?
that Western
use
concept
English all the time.
of literacy, George,
Yeah.
within that Western concept of literacy, they have categorized literature under poetry, under prose, and under drama with rules and regulations that people have to learn on all of that. We understand that those may not specifically be relevant in our traditional African context,
gentlemen,
where the storyteller is
Yeah.
both an actor, a poet, a singer, and a dancer, right? But at least we know that the common thread is that elevated form of expression. That's why I think Nana Asase and I were trying very hard not to let us limit this conversation to what probably the two of us does.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we're just a tip of the iceberg
Iceberg.
of that, what you might call the poetry fraternity.
Community.
And there are people who actually write.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even perform,
Yeah.
right? And legitimately, their works are as good as
Poetry,
ours.
Ah, let me
You
say
know?
a very special hello to Yom Mfujo. Yom is doing great works as well.
Nakia.
But yes, and then Poetra,
Asantewaa.
Asantewaa, very
International,
talented.
Our own brother
Yeah,
Rhymes. So
exactly.
there are some of us who are
DK Osei
using this as
and all of them.
a profession, but there are many others. In fact, let me even look. Poetry for me is not something that a lot of people will say I'm going to find work as a poet.
No.
It's always going to, even all around the world. Even
Yeah.
all around the world.
You don't get
it's
up
just
to
a
say-
few people. Even Nana Asase doesn't do this. I'm sure he does other things. I myself, I'm even looking to retire and do other things, right? Our great poet, Professor Kofi Anyideho, Awono, Atuko, these were academics who have other interests and still wrote. So maybe the conversation should not necessarily be to see how we can make as many people poets as profession as possible,
Yeah.
but how to develop that poetic impulse. For me, that's what I'm thinking. So that whatever way you want to apply it, whether in film, in theater, as a poet as we are, whatever way that talent can be deployed, at least you have that foundation. And the nation provides that.
We've just been joined by another poet, Kwame Rasta, the birthday boy. Kwame, Akwaba, how are you doing, my brother? Yeah, we can see the birthday celebration has got you
today's
all.
his birthday.
Yeah, today's his birthday.
Is there a flower pot around here?
Yeah, you want to pond him?
No, I can smell some nice.
You can smell
flowers.
some nice flowers. Don't worry. Nana, I'll come to you. Just so you wanted to say something.
So let me play the role that I've always played.
Yeah.
So at which point in time do I hear somebody speak and then I would have an aha moment that that's poetry?
This is a fine poem.
Because I'm reading something here, right?
Yeah.
That says The First Time We Kissed by Kelly Roper.
Okay, I think I heard it.
Nervously, I stood and George, and you see here I'm trying to see whether you can follow your rhythm or your rhyme.
The rhyme scheme, yeah.
Nervously, I stood there under the porch light.
Yeah.
As you smiled at me and moved closer, you took me in your arms, and my heart began to thud so loudly. I was sure you could hear it, but were pretending you didn't. You moistened your lips, looked deeply into my eyes, and then gently pressed your lips to mine. Let me pause here. Now, what you've heard so far, on which basis would you say it's poetry?
I do not feel a
You don't feel
rhyme
it's poetry?
scheme in there. I will tell you why. It's a thin line. If you read it again,
Yes.
you understand, we could pick elements of prose in
Hold
there
on,
as
hold on,
well.
hold on. Then I'll come to them. Hold on.
Yeah.
Nervously, I stood there under the porch light. As you smiled at me and moved in closer, you took me in your arms and my heart began to thud so loudly. I was sure you could hear it, but you were pretending you didn't. You moistened your lips, looked deeply into my heart.
Jesse,
my
for
eyes.
me, it is not poetry.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And then
What
gently
is it?
pressed your lips to mine. A moment's pause, and you touched my lips with yours again. A whisper of a kiss that promised more to come. We kissed again, and during that kiss, I felt like I had finally come home. Looking back, I know I was right. As we kissed goodnight, and I turned out the light. Why is this not poetry? George?
You see, it is not poetry.
Because you didn't see the fat at the end and
No,
fat in the
not-
second
not
line
exactly.
and fat in the third
I mean,
line.
George, I mean, I think it's poetry. But my point is that this is not even a
No,
literature
you see,
class.
no.
So
Let me tell you
maybe
why. Let me tell you.
I-
Let me tell you why
shouldn't
I
even be
think. Hold on.
trying
Let me
to-
tell you why
Wait,
I
let
think
George-
it is not
the
poetry.
intricacies.
Let me tell you why I think it is not poetry.
Okay.
I do not feel a metrical structure in there.
Good.
You understand? And if I do not feel a metrical structure in it, for me, it is more of a prose than poetry. You understand me? I'll give you an example of poetry, and this is one of the ones I brought.
But the question is poetry according to who? Whose
Hold on.
definition?
No. Poetry has prose
There's
has
no
a definition.
universal
No, hold on.
definition.
But prose has its definition. Poetry has a definition.
Defined by-
And there must be a metrical structure. What Jesse read could pass for Mills and Boone. It could pass for 50 Shades of Grey. It could pass for any other
George,
storybook.
can I
Hold
take
on.
you back
know that
into
just even
a zone that you
you know that
almost
you-
entered, right?
Yes.
We were talking about what traditional poetry should
Can
be.
I see? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is from somebody's tradition. You're talking about a certain metrical feeling to it.
Yeah.
That is somebody's tradition. You can't really impose it on another. Let me give you an example. A poet has so many tools at his disposal. A poet can decide to employ a chorus. I was telling you the poem I read it has a whole linguist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Misaki.
Yeah,
Charlie.
that's a style.
See,
Style. That's
the
style.
poem has
Yeah.
a linguist.
Yeah,
Before
that's
the
style.
poem is performed, there's a
Yeah.
linguist on.
Yeah.
Do you get my point? A poet can decide to use music.
Yeah.
He can decide to use repetition for emphasis.
Exactly.
He can decide to throw everybody off without any particular scheme.
Yeah.
It depends on the poet.
Yeah.
Like these people have their haiku. These people have their nsamrane. These people have their sonnet. So really, when you look in here, you might find certain elements of what you want to place as poetry from a very English point of view. You might have some similes and metaphors. And
Let me ask a question.
that will attempt to
let
be
me just give
poetry
you one
there.
example.
A question.
Let him go.
Just for the first stanza.
Just
Just a
like
question.
I believe you can put Adoa to Laban's notation. It wouldn't make meaning anywhere.
Anyway. Okay. Chief,
I
go
just,
ahead.
I just want to
Yes.
just the first stanza to make a point.
Yeah.
Nervously, I stood there under the porch light as you smiled at me and moved in closer.
Presentation.
Thank you.
took me in your arms and my heart began to thud so loudly.
Yapon.
I was sure you could hear it, but you were pretending you didn't. Poetry is feeling.
Yes.
I can read it. Nervously, I stood there under the porch light. So even in the performance,
No.
You see,
understand.
you see, it
Hold
just
on.
changed all of a sudden.
I said I had a question.
Okay, ask
Now,
your question.
could what you read be from any storybook, just any normal storybook? Would it make a
possible.
difference?
Yes.
It is possible. Would that be prose? Because a lot of storybooks are written in prose.
no, it depends on how it is written and structured.
And
But my
you
point is
see,
that,
and I'm
George,
telling
this is
you-
not a literature class.
No, it is
I'm
not.
afraid that we may be confusing people
Let's-
out there
yeah.
because we can sit in literature class and debate what are the elements of poetry and all of that. So I feel we're veering off the reason for this conversation.
Yes.
And we shouldn't try and get into a particular closeted definition of what is poetry and that is for us to do in literature class
In
and
a
an
literature
academic
class,
background.
academic,
Yeah.
discourse.
Before
kind
we
of
move
vibe.
on, I wanted to give another example. Then we'll come to rest.
You never give up.
This one was.
I have a poem for you. Never
Let's
give
hear
up.
this one. I arrive at Rockstone's office in my stretch limousine. At the door are the bouncers, all handsome and mean. The red carpets are washed with the press. My driver assures me I don't look a mess. I emerge from the limo, a true superstar. Blow a kiss to my fans, whoever they are. I stop to pose for a photo a minute. The fans all screaming. They want to be in it. Once inside, I sip gin and a tonic. I kiss Irene, but it's purely platonic. I mingle round, then seize my moment. I must ask Nadia to give me a dance. I chat to KKD, who's drinking the finest iced tea. But Ifya just can't keep her eyes off me. And now she's coming closer, nearer, and much more closer to me. Looks like a kiss. Well, that's fine by me. I feel the tense, but I must stay cool. Then my kid brother shouts, "Wake up, George, I'm late for school."
Beautiful prose. Congratulations. You just wrote one of the shortest short stories I've read. The language might be poetic. Beautiful story. Prose. You can have prose poetry. See, have you ever heard of prose poetry? Look, let's not have a literature class. Charlie, make a no roll up then.
Let's get back
Let's
to the
not start with the whiteboard and talk
So
literature and
how
poetry
can
and all
we?
of that.
How can we? Clearly,
you.
we all agree that it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Rasta here has been writing lots of poems and traveling across the breadth and length and breadth of this country. How can poetry be moved to the next level so that it attains the statuses that art forms like music and film and other art forms have attained? Is that ever going to be possible in Ghana? Rasta?
Yes, it's not impossible because
Yes, he's mic'd. But speak up.
okay.
Yeah.
So I think the last Grammys they had a few poets being considered for nomination,
Mm-hmm.
and it was of course adulterated. You, if you want, like it's somebody who say spoken word, somebody who say poetry on beat.
Yeah.
But it is a massive movement out there, critically acclaimed, and so if scribes, poets would want to plunge into it, that whole green area because there are so many writers, like poets, within this space, but it looks like we are stuck in our old ways, the very conservative ways, and appreciation of that is not really in the commercial realm. So, and the commercial bit, of course, informs. It's a catch-22, if you want. Once the appreciation is coming commercially, in other words, it also means that you are working, and it is getting recognized by the masses. So, yes, in response to your question, there are avenues out there which are yet to be employed by poets, and not until we do that, we would have the same conversation next year.
Interesting. We're going to have the same conversation next year. Chief and Nana says, you guys have been doing poems for God knows how long. When you take our national culture, do we carry it along in our poetry delivery? I know, Nana, you are trying to go a bit more traditional. Chief, you have become a bit more contemporary. You try to cut across. Can we use poetry to push up that agenda of selling our art forms to the world, of selling Ghana to the world? Because over the years, a lot of people have complained with the influx of these telenovelas and everything that is coming in. Our filmmakers are unable to face them. Our filmmakers are unable to match them. Even music, we've been fighting that we are consuming a lot more music. Can we use poetry to change the status quo? Is that possible?
I mean, as an art form, it can be deployed like all other art form towards a particular, aim and to achieve a particular result. We're all very excited when we watch Amanda Gorman, right? That's the name. Performance.
Yeah, the performance of the Biden's inauguration.
People, So yes, we can deploy.
And her piece wasn't structured.
It wasn't structured.
It was in a structure that George would call.
Oh no! Go back and listen to that poem.
Yes,
it was very structured. Go back and listen to it.
From the national interest point of view, first of all, let me just take off from where Rasta.
Yeah.
Look, from the literary angle, you can write poems and books and sell it and make money. Possibly, you can do albums and put it out there, and all the streaming sites people are doing it this way and make money. You can perform like Nana and Asasi do for events and organizations and make money. So that's it from the commercial point of view. But from what we can use it from an artistic point of view, it depends on the occasions and the moments, right? Poetry communicates, it's powerful, evokes feelings. That's why brands want to get us on board, because why would, for example, a bank call me to come and perform at their event when it's all about figures?
Yeah.
Because they want me to connect what they are doing to a particular story for an emotional connection. So, for example, at major national events, Independence Day, if the president is traveling abroad at major events, we can deploy that skill set of poetry. And even if we want to become more traditional, we can go back to what poetry means to us as a people. You know, whether from the north, the south, the east, the west, and package it in such a way that it will be enticing. Even from our tourism point of view, right? We can deploy poetry in such a way that when people go to the sites, they are storytellers, because you want to poetry is engaging and entertaining. So imagine when you get to those the castles, you know, one of the ways in which you tell the story is by getting a powerful storyteller to communicate at the various, you know, points. So yes, there are strategies we can deploy to elevate, you know, our national story both within the country and out of the country, and also just as a basic way of educating people. Sometimes when you're passing on information, just okay, Ghana is this, we're born, people may not listen. But when you couch it, because the thing about art is that it is something that people appreciate and they engage. So if you also want to teach our young children about who we are as a people, we can deploy poetry in schools, we can deploy poetry in a lot of contexts that would gain attention, because at the end of the day, poetry grabs attention. So it is about what we want to achieve as a country and how much we value this particular art form and how do we want to deploy it to achieve a certain, you know, aim. So I believe that if we really wanted to use it in that way, people can see it as a profession the way I've mentioned, but we can also deploy it for a national agenda if so desired.
Charlie,
pretty
interesting.
interesting
Experiment here.
Yeah, let's go
I'll
ahead.
sing the first line, you sing the second line.
Okay.
Kuriye kuriye kuri janjang kuru janjang kuriye kuriye kuru. Case die. Look.
Oh, what did you just sing?
Thank you very much. Now
just do you know it?
It creates. Now you want to ask questions. Where are these people coming from? So you can imagine this is being played someplace in China.
But wait, what is that?
A minute.
Okay.
Someplace in China. Charlie, where is this coming from? Somebody might be vibing on the vibration of the music, just the vibration of the music. Look, I've met audiences and what they connected to was the music.
I mean, you perform in Cree, right?
Yes. Or the beauty of how the language is, they can just connect to it.
What does Professor Nyidoho say about poetry? For our people, poetry is song, and song is poetry.
Song is poetry. Look. So are you here with me? 3, 2, 1. The question is not can we. Are we willing to?
That's the question.
Camera, light,
action.
Let this man go and talk about Charlie. Go and hide the thing. Charlie, we have some poets from Ghana. Blah 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 blah. Look, let the president open the door to the UN General Council. Let them drop whatever $1,000, $1 million. Catch Nana Assassin. Master will happen there. By the time we come
So
out,
that Nanado says, and we know he's listening, he always does, says that every time I am moving with some 2 poems or maybe a culture or something.
Nkrumah did that.
Yeah.
Are you here with me?
Yeah.
It's not a case of are we able, are we willing? Because look, we know our product is that good. We're not blowing our own horns.
Yeah.
Trust me, Minia, any day.
Oh, of course.
Any platform, let them come.
Of course.
Hands down.
And I think the conversation will be how do we reclaim our traditional storytelling.
That is a beautiful
the
question,
African
Chief.
storytelling is different from the right now we've all become European. Sometimes when we're even doing spoken word, our young people are sounding like Americans because that's what they are watching.
Yeah.
You know that kind of. But we have our own soul.
I don't remember one of those.
How do we harness that in telling our African story and asserting our identity as a people anywhere in the world? That's why I told you that the African storyteller is a poet, is an actor, is a musician, is even in a way a comic. Because you are engaging the audience using all of the senses and all of the tools available to you. So from just a cultural agenda alone, how do we harness that traditional storytelling? How do we ensure that the flurry of the African language, the language that we have in our courts, that flurriness does not, run away or it doesn't disappear.
It doesn't just leave.
And at least some of our musicians.
Let me bring Jesse and Uncle Ken into the conversation. No, you poets, if I leave you, will not. Uncle Ken. Yeah. Are you with us?
Let me hold that. I'll come back to it.
Are you asking me if I'm with you?
Yes.
I have enjoyed listening to the folks.
Yeah.
And I think that the problem is how our youngsters are going to believe that they can do something like what these Chief and Nana are doing to gain prominence in society. Because our society these days is geared towards financial gain, whether you like it or not. People would only move into territories where they can make some gains financially. Now, so if Nana and Chief can let our youngsters know that they can gain something other than financial in what they do to make them want to pick up from where they are now. That is the problem that we need to resolve.
Interesting.
Because we can come and sit here and talk plenty, and like you guys have said, we've had a literature class this afternoon on poetry.
Yes, we have.
We have. And I'm asking myself, for the people outside there listening, what have they gained from it? Okay, are they going to be able to decide whether they want to follow that path or not from what we have done today? So if you can tell me that there are other things to gain other than the financial benefits of poetry.
Okay. Wait. George,
Yes. No,
so
Jesse.
I always like to. It's difficult when you put the issues together, right?
Yeah.
So I want to try and separate it from Uncle Ken's question of his questions border on relevance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would break this subject on two levels. Poetry as a tool for education and poetry as a tool for entertainment. And I don't want to say revenue per se, because my thinking is that if I could be entertaining others, I will make money out of it. And if I were also using...
Sorry? Feeling, is it, do you have it in Ghana here? Or?
Yeah, well, good question,
no, it's a... I don't know whether I should say it's a good question or not. But
in fact, you can ignore the question because maybe it could expose one or two things. So let's move on.
No. I would not, because when you were not here, I actually said that I had pitched poetry
as a part of a
that's number one.
business pitch.
I had given opportunity to some UCC guys.
But you said nothing came out.
It didn't come out of it. And I said that I paid them.
Yeah.
And I've used those guys for 4 times, and I've always paid them.
Yeah.
Nana here is
out of your own resources.
Yes. No, through clients.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I've engaged them. In fact, I did an event at is that Sankri? No, it wasn't Asangwa. I think in Ashanti region, when the government was launching the rural telephony project.
Okay.
Part of the presentation that I gave to the Ministry of Communication included that.
Okay.
And it was approved.
All right.
So I'm just saying that everywhere I have gone to make pitches, poetry is a part of it. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to be
That is good.
monetizing the process and enriching somebody.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the only problem within the poetry space is for me how much they charge. Because it's easier for you to say, okay...
is it how much they charge or how much you're willing to pay?
No, you see, because there's no charge on the table,
We're going to talk about
the supplier has always been at the side of determining how much they earn.
Nope.
And I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Hold
putting
on.
these two
Yeah.
aside.
Okay.
They probably may have been through the mill.
Yeah.
But the movie industry may seemingly have a proper structure for charging. Of course. For cost.
Sure.
And the musicians have a proper structure for cost, whether you like it or not.
Course. Yeah.
But within the poetry space, it's not very defined. So maybe they are probably defined. But I guess my big issue is this, right? Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I
just
guess
proceed.
my big issue is this, that I said that poetry as a tool for education and poetry as a tool for entertainment.
Yeah.
Let's put entertainment aside. I'm sure they are doing that already.
Yeah.
And when you listen to the vetting of Mohammed Awal, he had made a point that he's thinking of driving 1 million local tourism drives in the country within the first year. Now, there are some documents on the Ministry of Finance's website.
Yeah.
And I think the projection for 2021 and 2022 or so, it looks like we were looking, that's at that time, to attract about 1.45 million tourists into Ghana. From a local travel perspective, I think the target was around 600K. George, but Awal says he wants to push it to 1 million, right?
1 million.
Now, the question is this. How do you drive the attention to the places where you want the tourists to go to? And I feel that listening to the conversation we are having now, the way they pitch the things they do, and I'm putting it in quote, the things they do, seems like a powerful tool for advertising our local tourism. So I'll be happy if I probably sat in KQ, coming into Ghana, right? And every time KQ is coming into Ghana, one of the videos you can watch in KQ is a story or a poetry recital that is grounded on, say, a museum that Kwame Rasa may have found. That's telling a story. So, and by the time I get to Kotoka International Airport, as I am waiting, part of the things that I'm hearing, I'm driving the tourism through poetry to specific locations. Now, we said that Ghana's history is not well told. Our culture is not well told.
No.
So, as an example, if I have a website that tells me about Kipcoz Castle, it will be great for that Kipcoz Castle story to be told through the art of poetry.
Yeah.
So I
We'll
said
be more
it.
comfortable if we be using storytelling.
Sorry,
more
okay,
than
which,
just-
which is fine.
Yeah.
So,
At
George,
least for our African context.
Yeah.
okay,
For a
fantastic,
wider
fantastic.
yeah.
So, George, I guess
Storytelling.
that I made this point in Kipcoz the last time, and I said that let's focus on the lower hanging fruits. If this is an opportunity to do a proper storytelling of our culture, start now. What does it take? Let's call them the living heritage. 50 fantastic young men and women. Put them together.
Super.
And let's start writing. Let's start from one region at a time. Go to Ashanti region, Greater Accra region, Northern region. Start telling the story. Give them 6 months to tell you the most compelling story ever. How much would it cost? 2 million Ghana cedis. Find somebody and find the money and empower them to do that. And see, and I feel that if Mohammed Awal and the team would do that, if that's the only thing they try to do in the next six months, they will see results.
The narrative will
Because
change.
he said that he wants to package Ghana and sell Ghana. The way to package Ghana is to tell Ghana's story. And if storytelling is their forte, let the guys tell the story.
George, on the
Exactly.
back of that,
Yes.
on the
Last
back of
one.
that,
We have to round
I
up
have
on
this
this one.
simple note
Yeah.
that says, when the tourists come in, the buildings and the sites hold historical facts and the stories, but the people hold the culture and tell these stories.
Exactly.
And so, as simple as this should
This
tell
should
you,
be. And this situates into a conversation we started in Kipcoz last week. We've also been joined by Sadiq Abdullah Abu. Sadiq, how are you doing?
I'm good, George.
Great. Welcome. We missed you in Kipcoz last week, but we're going to go to the phone lines first. And we're going to speak to the daughter of Professor Atukwe Okai. Hello.
Hello, George.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, which of the daughters are we talking to?
You are talking to Kloko.
Kloko Ofainatite.
Ofana Yojugba. Shiklocho is also here.
Okay, Klocho, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, George. Well, we heard your lines. You are doing great.
Yeah.
we took inspiration from that.
Oh, you're doing good.
All right. So, Daddy turns 80 on Monday. I mean, though late. And today, Joy FM, of course, as part of Ghana Month, we're focusing on, we've been focusing on everything Ghanaian, and we're speaking verbal arts, particularly the spoken word. And, our spotlight today is on poet Professor Atukwe Okai. And since you are his daughters, what are the fondest memories? What do you remember Daddy for the most?
Oh my gosh, so much.
So Daddy, so just to clarify, he'll be turning 80 this Monday, 15th March.
Yeah.
So yes, you're right on it. He was such a man of, great splendor. He would, and one of the things that he liked preaching, if I should put it that way, is about the fact how we have been educated away from ourselves. And so for him, in using his poetry and his art, he said we should seek to educate ourselves back to ourselves, whether it's poetry, whether it's literature, whether it's, music. So for him, it was all encompassing. It wasn't even just poetry. Even in the way he dressed, as I'm sure you would attest to.
Exactly.
And well, personally, from our perspective as his children, obviously he was daddy to us. And he had his own ways with us. Having all girls, he definitely had to always mediate in a lot of situations. So we do miss that. He had his way of bringing peace and calm into every situation with his jokes. He knew how to crack all the jokes to just, simmer every storm.
Which of his poems is your favorite?
Oh my gosh.
Well, for me, Kloko, I actually like Ododo Diodo Concerto. Yeah. I just like the power of that poem.
Ododo Diodo Concerto. Can you recite it?
I can say, well, actually, I can say a few lines from it, but there's one that I think, there's a short love poem that I don't think it has made the rounds as Rosemaya has. Pastoral Prelude. I don't know if you want him to just do maybe a few lines of that for you.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Pastoral Prelude. Unwind me, woman, unwind me well. Unwind me with that wilderness wicked of a wounded wasp, wriggling in the waterless wayside well, shimmering like a sun-kissed seashell. Let all your flowers fully unfurl, their fairest forms in their dreamers dell. Let winds from your womanly warmth well over my heavy doubting heart and quell all my fears, oh God's own gorgeous girl. And on our separations tall the nail. Unwind me, woman, unwind me well. Unwind me, woman, unwind me well. Unwind me with that gesture gracious of your generous grasp, healing hold of a heaven-hallowed hell, yearning like the young unyielding yell. In the sensations our senses sell, to bones that bang a Buddha bang bell, in each single silent listening cell, before the all-seeing stars rebel. A dewy dumb doom where our dreams dwell, in pastures our passions shall not shell. Unwind me, woman, unwind me well. That's it.
You really are your father's daughter.
Hello.
So what is happening on Monday in his memory? Are there any special celebrations? Anything special happening?
So, here we do have a little something, to bring back the man. We call it a voice re-echoed. And so it's an artistic interlude, call it that, a media clip that we are putting out. GTV will be coming at 30 p.m. And, you should all look out for it. I know a lot of people have missed him, and this is a way to, re-echo the voice that was Atukwe Okai as we know it. Consummate Atukwe. So look out for it.
And it will be showing on TV Africa and GH1 as well. We're just putting out the time.
All right, that works. Okay, no problem at all. Try to put it on social media so that those of us that would also like to catch it elsewhere, we can, And of course, when it comes to culture and art and celebrating our legends like your dad, the place to look is multimedia. Enjoy, family.
Hello.
Definitely. All right, so thank you very much and congratulations. Your dad was a legend and we're happy to celebrate this day with him.
Thank you so much for having us.
Take
We
care.
are most grateful. And greetings to all the luminaries in your studio. We know them.
They greet you back. Thank you very much, of course.
You're welcome.
And those are daughters of the legendary Atukwe Okai. And last week, just in case you missed it, this is how it went down in Cape Coast.
99.7 FM. This is Showbiz A to Z, coming to you from the central forecourt Kipcoz Castle in the central region of Ghana.
Prof, let me come to you with a little bit of history. What is the historical significance of Kipcoz Castle?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, this castle, represents two things. It represents the unfortunate transatlantic slave trade, which lasted for over 400 years, abolished officially in 1870. And it also represents the era of colonization. And so for me, these two things stand out.
But live this conversation out of the Cape Coast Castle and go into the hub of tourism in Ghana, actually, which is Cape Coast. And that is where I come to you, Nana. Cape Coast is blessed with many cultural and tourism-related activities. I mean, it is your home. You tell us, what kind of activities are those that you have here in Cape Coast that make it so special? For which reason people should visit Cape Coast?
Thank you very much, George.
Perfect.
Efutu was a kingdom. The Europeans called it, I don't know, Fetu.
Fetu, okay.
And that's how come when the late Omahino Sabama Kojo, brother Fifth, decided with a few prominent citizens of Ugwa, Cape Coast, like Honorable J.E. Hagen, Honorable Welbeck, N.A. Welbeck, Nana Obieji, Nana Uku, and a few others, decided to reintroduce the festival which had been banned by the European governor here in the castle. They decided to go back to their ancestry and name the festival after their mother. But because now Winneba is Efutu, and truly so because it also migrated from Efutu here near Cape Coast. And so they are referred to as Efutufo. They thought that if they took the name Efutu Afashe, it would mean Winneba Afashe. So then let's go to the adulterated form of Efutu, which had been named Fetu. And that's how come the festival is called Fetu Afashe. So we have that. But we also, because it's a cosmopolitan and it's because of acculturation, international cultures have now influenced
okay.
some of these things. So now we have two major international festivals. In addition to our Fetu Afashe, we have the Panafest, which is Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival, which was mooted and instituted by Mrs. Efua Sutherland, Auntie Efua Sutherland, who is the mother of Professor Esti Sutherland Adi, and who was encouraged by the late President Rawlings, to effect the Panafest celebration. And then we had the teaser in 91, then 92, we had the dress rehearsal, and 94 was the one which was beamed worldwide, satellite. And that started drawing attention to Ghana and to Cape Coast. Then 99, the same ex-President Rawlings, may his soul rest in peace, also brought about emancipation celebration. And because of that, 2 Jamaicans who had been dead already several years and had been interred in Jamaica had their bodies brought down and reinterred.
Here in Ghana?
At Asin Manso.
Okay.
At Asin Manso. And so now Emancipation Day celebration has become part of Panafest. The only difference is that Panafest is celebrated once every 2 years. But emancipation is every year. But Panafest, now for the past 4-5 celebrations, the people sit in boats here, travel on the sea just to have a feel of what the early slaves went through. To Elmina Castle, the forecourt.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's like a journey of return.
Yeah.
Now, this gate is no longer the gate
of
the
no
door
return.
of no return, but
It is
now
the
it's the door of return.
So you can go and come back.
That's right.
I see.
We call here not the hub, but the heartbeat.
The heartbeat.
Ghana's tourism.
Ghana's tourism, even better. So, Prof, do you think some of these festivals have been significant? And if they have, how have they contributed to the tourism development in this part of the country?
All right, George, thank you. But then I want to say that Ghana has not exploited more than 10% of its attraction offerings. We have so many. To answer your question directly, I think we have packaged it to a point. But I must admit that in the last, about 5 years, I have seen an amazing repackaging of Dogwa Fetu, particularly Dogwa Fetu.
Yeah, the Fetu Afashe.
Yes, and it's been so awesome.
Yes, Rasta, you were asking a question.
Yes, the bit about we having only harnessed just about 10% of our cultural tourism potential.
Yeah.
It is so true, because as I sit here, I have personally identified, and plans are far in advance to unearth a certain slave depot in the wild in Mamfi Ekropon.
Oh, interesting.
And the sorry state of affairs there is, how do we get there? Because we have a fair idea, and this story came from one Jawain. He's Jamaican. He came from the States. He's never going back. But the point is, when he brought it to my attention, we've made certain moves, and it is proving to be a dead end, but we've not given up yet. Now, that spot, when you look at it from a certain angle from a Cropon today, it makes sense that it was most likely a route down to Asin Manso, where today we Nana mentioned that certain rituals are performed.
Yeah.
Now, when you take that aside, there is Jankama. We all know Jankama,
Yes.
very close to Ebri. It is actually an adulterated or a corrupted version of a Jankama.
Oh, okay.
A spot where
orphans,
those who were too weak, too old
travel,
to be sold, were dumped.
It's Showbiz A to Z.
And that's how it went down in the central region of Ghana, Cape Coast. When we come back from this short break, we're going to go briefly into that, and then we'll come to 3 music awards, and then we'll try to bring the show to a close. Stay on.
The numbers have finally turned into names. Names of people we know. Names of people we love. Coronavirus is ravaging our country and taking the lives of our loved ones. But if we do the right thing, we can help stop the spread. Wash and sanitize your hands regularly, and most importantly, wear a nose mask every time you step out of your house. Masks save lives. However, if you start experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, get tested. And if you're positive, don't self-medicate. Visit the nearest health center immediately. If you love your life, protect it. Wear your mask. Wear it for your wife, for your husband, your kids. Wear it for mama. Wear it for daddy. Wear it for you. Do the right thing. Wear a mask. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Information, the Ghana Health Service, and our donor partners.
If we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Winning strategies, nuggets of wisdom, unforgettable stories, all in one inspirational hour. Springboard your virtual university with Albert and Comfort Okran and guests.
Planning is bringing the future into the present.
A job is for the salaries, mundane, is survival oriented, and there's no passion. But a career has fulfillment, innovation, drive. A growth path is clear, and you can build step by step all the way to the top.
Matriculate at 7 p.m. and graduate at 8 p.m. every Sunday on Joy 99.7 FM and live on Facebook. Springboard is brought to you by Legacy and Legacy and Joy 99.7 FM and proudly sponsored by MTN, Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, and Axis Pension Trust with support from the graphic business.
Here's where we turn around.
Classical music made by Bach, express God's love. Classical music made by Beethoven, express God's power. Classical music made by Mozart, express God's laughter. Please join Jeffrey every Thursday and Sunday, 12 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. to enjoy the very best of classical music by legendary composers here on Joy 99.7 FM.
It can be very dangerous on these streets for a pedestrian. So here's how the National Road Safety Authority wants you to stay safe out there. If you're going to cross the road, make sure it's at a zebra crossing, on a footbridge, or at a traffic signal. If you're crossing anywhere else, please look left, right, and left again to ensure there are no vehicles approaching. And please pay attention. Put your phone away when crossing the road. One moment of distraction could end your life. Let's look out for ourselves, protect each other, and arrive alive. Thank you.
Everyone needs you alive, arrive alive.
It's Showbiz A to Z.
I love this
And it's Rumblers International in the house. You tuned into Joy 99.7 FM. It's Showbiz A to Z. It's 30 gone after 5. Showbiz A to Z is probably brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. And High Five Chocolate. That's the new normal. And if you're tuned in and you're driving, as I always say, please ensure that you drive safe. Avoid all distractions. Keep both eyes on the road and hands on the wheel. Be visible, especially if you're driving under hazy or foggy conditions, or even driving in the rain. If you're driving at night, ensure your lights are kept on, and that's how you ensure your safe arrival. Arrival Live campaign is proudly brought to you by Joy News and Multimedia Group, supported by Logistics Movers. We help you relocate, and Toyota Ghana Company Limited. Toyota, superior quality. And if you're thinking of the safest, hassle-free, and the most secure way of relocating or transporting your goods, then Logistics Movers is here for you. The professional and cost-effective way of moving your office and household items within and outside Accra or wherever on the planet. Logistics Movers have what it takes to put a smile on your face, as that is the hallmark. Contact them on 050-127-7363 or 0302-918349. Email info@logisticsmovers.com or visit their website at www.logisticsmovers.com. Logistics Movers, we help you relocate. Yep, they are very, very good. And Toyota Ghana Company Limited is offering special packages for the purchase of every Toyota Corolla 1.6 litre or 1.8 litre. Customers will enjoy the following benefits and more. Mega discount on the price. 1 year, 20,000 kilometer free service. Drive a Toyota Corolla made for Ghana with a manufacturer's warranty of 3 years or 100k kilometers. That's 100,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. Visit any of the branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Takwa, Takrady, or Tamale, or call 0302-910204 to enjoy these great deals. Remember, this offer is valid while stocks last. Toyota Ghana Company Limited is proud to be associated with Joy FM. Joining us arrive alive safety tips on the Super Modern Show. Toyota, superior quality. This one says, good evening, George. I'm Farid, a young man in my mid-20s, very passionate about poetry. I have had very few performances on the radio and television and even on stage. I have regular job, but I hope to commercialize my poetry. What's your best advice to achieve this? Keep pushing, my brother. And put your works on social media. Social media. That's one sure way to get noticed. All right, gentlemen, so we're coming back to the studios, and then Uncle Ken, we were in Kipcoz last week.
Yes, you were.
And you were telling me earlier that it was a great conversation.
Yes. Excellent conversation.
Very
riveting, you know. I was glued to my radio listening to you guys in Kipcoz, and I felt, but I was very sad because I didn't realize that there was still a problem in Kipcoz till you came back. And then I saw a post of yours that you were talking about these youngsters hanging around the castle, begging for arms, so to speak.
They nearly beat Jesse.
Which I think
they were harassing him. It wasn't funny.
That upset me.
They didn't approach Rasta though. They thought he was one of them.
Oh, Charlie. Charlie, you know your bro if you do that. If you know your bro if you do that. You know your bro if you do that.
They could identify.
After the riveting conversation that went on and all the suggestions that were made as to how to go about, improving things around there. George Quaye comes back to Accra, and then he brings onto the fore the the downward trends. And I felt very sad. I said, after all these years, we still allow these kids to go there harassing foreigners and visitors to the place. I think it's sad. It's sad. But otherwise, we still need to do more to attract people there. Look at the length of time you guys took to get there. With the traffic at Butumburam.
4.5 hours.
That you were complaining about.
Uncle Ken, I said from Winneba to Kipcoz, how many minutes did I do? 54 minutes or so. As soon as I crossed Winneba, I called Philip. And it was like to Kipcoz, 54 minutes. But I had done like 3 hours trying to get to Winneba. 3 hours.
Yes,
why?
To get to Winneba.
3 hours trying to get to Winneba.
How are you going to attract anybody to want to go there?
There's a new airport coming. So
that's why the airport matter.
No, suddenly I agreed. It's important.
There's a new airport.
Sadiq, you also missed the conversation.
Yes, I followed it. Interestingly, I was listening to it with my dad. I was driving him to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
And he was also listening. And I mean, he had some very good words to say, charitable words to say, talk about how he seems you guys are making some good points. I think that he became a fan of the prof.
Okay, yeah, the
And
prof,
points
yeah,
that he was
the prof
making
was pretty
and all
solid,
of
yeah.
that. Then later on, when I came on social media, so I got some feedback. Somebody
Yeah.
called me and said, but you know they keep close up.
Mm.
And so they should not leave me. Philip come out me for
We are
inside.
coming to the reason we left you. 3 women.
Philip
yes.
come out me for inside. You are going to enjoy.
No, 3 music awards was happening the
But you
following
weren't
day.
the only
so-
one who was committed.
Oh, me and you and Keke, they said,
But we too, we were planning our 3 music.
yeah,
weren't we?
we're planning, so we took it like that.
Yes, and let me come to Nana Sasi, and I don't know if you guys followed our conversation. We had the show live from Kipcoz last week, and you know, as the Queen Mother called it the heartbeat of tourism in Ghana, and you know, we had some insightful conversations from Kipcoz. So I don't know if you were able to follow, but if you weren't able to follow, it's all right. Basically, I don't know what you know about Kipcoz, and it's significant to Ghana's tourism and our history generally.
I've lived there.
Oh, you live there? Okay.
Oh, why are you trying to do like you don't know?
I did. Please, I'm not a listener.
Gentleman of the country. Proud of
It's okay. Let's not start this one.
Angola boy.
Let's go for it. Let's not start this one.
So you realize that Cape Coast is a historic town. Beyond that, it was Ghana's first capital.
It was, yeah.
Which I believe we've done a great disservice to Cape Coast.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that bit. Now, when you have the Cape Coast Castle open, look, I've gone there, had underground conversations when I was with the folklore board, conversation with some of these tour guides, conditions of service and all of this. Terrible. Now look at the narrative you hear all the time. Look, I've been to the Cape Coast Castle how many times in my life? I can close my eyes and tell you, I'm a student of history, and tell you, from here we're going here, from here we're going to see this. The film they show you in that dark room.
They don't show the film these
days. They don't
days.
even show it anymore.
Yeah.
Look, can't we make different? They look at that little museum they had there, showing the. Look, are we playing?
Anyway. Chief.
Yes, I joined and I actually called because
Yes, I remember
I'm
you called.
extremely
You
passionate
called.
about
Yeah.
this area.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago I used to say that look, one of my litmus tests for a government that is competent is that you come into office and you tell me that for the 4 years or the 8 years I came, I mean our top earners were gold, cocoa services, but now our top earners, for example, the tourism industry.
Yeah.
And you know that some thinking serious
Some work has been done.
has gone into to change the economy. We need to run this economy as if we don't have gold, as if we don't have cocoa, as if we don't have those natural. If we didn't have those natural resources, where would we be, even with our current predicament? So for me, and I also always want to challenge, because I think that this is the way forward now, that people must diversify the understanding of investment. If I had $1 billion, inshallah, I'll make a proposal to the government. You know what? I want to take over Cape Coast Castle for 10 years. I want to invest do this investment to increase the experiential nature. People should begin to think outside the box beyond real estate. Real estate is important and all the other things that we do, because if we don't invest in new frontiers, our economy will never expand. 50 years from now, we'll still come and have the same conversation because we are going around the circle and we are not charting new paths.
Yeah.
And if we don't chart new paths, the economy will not grow.
It's not gonna
so
grow.
my challenge to right now, I don't even talk to elderly people again. I talk to young people like ourselves. When we get into the position of power, we need to break that vicious cycle and do the things that we're actually complaining about and become the progressive leaders we are crying for now.
Until then,
you
we
Rasta,
manage this.
I mean, you were there with us. I mean, did you also go through that traffic, or you came from another route because you are an international globetrotter?
Yeah, so I was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the sense to not follow you people. So I went through Swedro.
Okay.
Through Abodom. And then Mancron.
But that's very far.
I don't
Hold
get
on,
it.
hold on. I'm not going to your house. I was going to my home. So between now.
Oh,
the
that's
reason-
when you were returning from
Yes, when I was
Kipcoz. Okay.
returning. In fact,
okay.
I used the same route when I was coming back.
Okay.
So, I mean, and that's why I got very lucky.
Mhm.
And if Mr. Kwesi Ajima is listening, Ghana Tourism Authority boss, the road between Mancron and Mepong before you branch to Asamai or back to Adoejiri, I think that the Tourism Authority folks should lease it from the Ghana Highway Authority. It could serve as a tourist attraction.
Okay. Why? What's the?
Hey, bruh, the manholes between Mancron and Mipom. Listen,
Ancestral
it is not
portals.
a joke.
Ancestral portals.
Listen, You have no idea.
You can create stories around it.
See, as many people spend 4.5 hours. You know, I grew there.
So that was the sense you saw.
That was my listen, and me, that place. Oh dear.
Jesse, you were also with us. I don't know if you picked up some of the problems I picked up. My biggest challenge, that traffic, and then the kids that harass you at the castle. And it wasn't just us. They were doing it practically to every tourist who came there.
Well, I think the kids for me were not the issue, because the kids are everywhere. In the airport traffic, they are there. In everywhere, they are there. So they've been there. I don't think it's a tourism issue. I think it's a
social
issue.
social national.
So I can detach that.
Yeah.
The only thing is that I haven't lived in Kipcoz all my life, but everybody understands the heritage and the culture of Kipcoz. But when you enter the town, it doesn't feel like tourism.
It doesn't hit you.
Yeah, it doesn't hit you.
It's a very quiet town.
When you
almost
enter
dead.
Ashanti region, right?
Yeah.
It smells like a very conservative town. It feels very traditional in nature. And whilst it's a developed city, it's found a way of keeping the tradition I think in a very beautiful manner. And I love that. I've been to Northern Region once. When you enter Northern Region, it smells of tradition. It smells of like
you feel the heat.
Yeah, it's not just
literally you feel the heat.
Like there's a story that hits you immediately, right?
Yeah.
Like if I enter Western Region now, I see that I don't smell culture in the Western Region as an example.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the entire oil and everything else. So, but Kipcoz, we've said it's a tourism hub. Again, so I honestly don't know what that means. Because first of all, it takes me 4 hours to get to Kipcoz. That's a problem. When I get to the town itself,
there's nothing.
What is it?
Nothing there.
Like seriously,
London Bridge.
What is it? Look,
that's
I
the most
love,
annoying bridge in the world.
I love driving through the Jamestown of Kipcoz.
Yeah.
And there's some uniqueness in the coastal towns and how they are set up. What does that mean for tourism? As an example, it's just a drive-through when I go. What does that mean? And I've always made a point that I love the value add and the process that Dubai has. So I gave an example the last time.
Yeah.
You see where the art center is, and where Kwame Nkrumah Museum is.
Yeah.
I feel that the way if you go to Dubai, you would walk for a long time. I would love to enter art center, and the exit comes from after Kwame Nkrumah Museum.
Yeah.
So as a tourist, when I enter and I'm seeing arts and craft,
Yeah.
I go see the.
You
Kwame
go
Nkrumah
all
story,
through. Then
I take
it should be
photos.
linked.
By the time I'm leaving, I would have paid like 400 Ghana cedis, which is cool.
Nkrumah is
Yeah.
another story.
Yeah, it's a different story altogether. So I feel that entering Cape, honestly, I didn't feel the sense of tourism. All I saw is the Yamransa Kinke at the beginning of the journey, and then I get in there, and then I have a school debate. So even the educational tourism hasn't been. It's good for the quiz, but when I'm on the ground, what does that mean? And I love your school.
Mention it, please.
No, you went to Augustine.
No, I would rather die. I will die.
No, the red school.
Fanspen. That's it.
It's not for nothing that you might have a position called you might have like the Ivy League schools, right?
Yeah.
And
sorry. No, I said the schools are even tourism.
Yes,
exactly.
So
because it carries a lot of stories.
Yeah.
The schools carry a lot of stories.
Yeah.
You want to go to Harvard and see what it looks like. So I would love to go to Accra Academy and drive through Accra Academy.
Exactly.
When I go to Kipcoz, I want to go to your school. So
Yeah.
You want to go to say Ghana National College to learn the history of Ghana.
George, I'm done. I beg you. I'm done.
Sometimes you can go travel somewhere in the world.
Williams. The Three Music Emerging Woman of the Year 2021 goes to Jackie.
Wow, wow. I am honored. I'm so proud. And I'm super happy to have won this category, the Emerging Woman of the Year. I'm super thankful to Three Music Awards for the recognition.
And the winner of the Three Music Awards 2021 Music Woman of the Year is Adina.
Wow, thank you so much. This means a lot to me. I want to say thanks to God Almighty for this award. Shout out to Three Music Awards.
I'm here to present the Most Streamed Woman Awards. This award goes to no other person than one of our own. And it goes to Dinah Entry Hamilton. Dinah, that's a win for the gospel. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Wow.
This is grace at work, and I am grateful to God. I am also grateful to the organizers of 3 Music Awards for this initiative, for acknowledging, for supporting, and for making us get to where we are today. A big thank you to you.
Beats on it. New Africa. Turn up your volume.
It's Showbiz A to Z.
Cut it. Turn up your volume. Turn up your volume. Action. My heart's great, but me deem I'm sweat. George. You can't tell me nothing. My tummy car. Nimbu sound. Cut it. Say unya kakra. Fabito car. Kofixi woofa. Nabo me sound.
And I'm here with the man, CEO of 3 Music Awards, Sadiq Abdullah. Walaji.
George.
So while we were in Kipcoz, you were awarding people in Accra. I didn't know 3 Music Awards has started awarding already. What happened?
Well, I mean, the women's branch element of the 3 Music Awards came off. So as it is with the practice, every year on International Women's Day, our women's branch event comes off. And this year, part of what we did was that some of the female skid awards was given on the women's branch. So like the Music Woman of the Year, the most streamed female act of the year, and the emerging woman of the year.
Uncle Ken says he can't hear you. Please speak up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm saying that on international, as it is with the practice on International Women's Day, since we started last year, the women's branch event comes off. This year, as usual, it came off with the panel and then the award element of it. Aside the emerging woman of the year and the music woman of the year, we also honored some legends that blaze the trail as well, female legends. And then, of course, there were some exciting performances to come along with it.
Yeah. Give a stunning performance.
Yes. It was a very fantastic performance. That was more or less like a rallying call to sort of harness the strength and diversity of women, and also, most importantly, to put out a very strong message that, I mean, we need to be able to take the issues about inclusion and representation very seriously.
So what happened last Sunday? Was it new? The awards part of it, is it new, or is it something that has been happening?
No, it's been happening. Last year, in fact, when we had the panel discussion, 10 legends were on it. Yes, this year as well, 4 legends were on it.
Who were these 4?
So it was Madam Grace Norte, Diana Hobson, Mrs. Frances Ademola, the owner of the Loom, and then Nanama Dadzi, who is a background vocalist.
All right, that's great. That is great. And when is the main event itself happening?
Well, the main event is coming up in 2 weeks, 27th March. That's when the main event is happening.
What kind of event are we going to have? Virtual or
it's going to be virtual, but it's going to be a very interesting and exciting, what we call out of this world virtual event that we're sure would entertain TV viewers and a lot of people that make the time to watch it. It will really be good. We started working on it already. We started putting all of it together, and this year will be another standard that we'll seek to set for ourselves, just as we've done over the years.
Interesting. You guys are doing great. You're doing great. Uncle Ken, but we have still not discussed the categories properly because some of us still have issues.
Yes, exactly.
We have to. Maybe next Saturday we have to go into that.
The whole of we should
we should dedicate it a whole to deal with it properly. Exactly. Yeah. We have to so that we can do our predictions. It's happening exactly.
And so we should. But I have to doff. I didn't bring my Liverpool hat today. I will have doffed it to Sadiq. Because the whole program of the women's branch was
solid,
very well executed.
Very.
The performances, Yaya's performance
was phenomenal.
Phenomenal performance. Out of this world. The choreography, everything about it was super. And it all goes to show how talented this young man is. If he would just leave some of his diabolic tendencies and concentrate on this positives. I love this gentleman. He's just phenomenal with his ideas.
I think that also, as a man of the theatre, I need to also comment, Sadiq. I read even from the nominees' announcements, the videos that they did, to Yaya's performance, I
Yeah.
see some deliberate effort to elevate the packaging
Exactly.
of the entertainment. Like how we watch BT Awards, and they invest in the content, and they invest in they curate the performance. So you don't just come and stand on stage and shout and jump and call it.
It's a whole
Respect your
experience.
audience. So I see what he's trying to do with this, and I can just wish him the very best.
Charlie.
Please.
And the topics for the
Yeah,
women's
we'll
branch,
just clap. We'll clap. Yeah.
the discussions are always very impactful.
Something is
You
coming
know,
to the studio.
I think it's Sadiq has
Ladies and gentlemen,
something-
gentlemen, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rasta. Happy birthday to you.
But you people, Rasta, he does not eat cake.
Today he will eat cake.
We will talk the cake for
No. On a more serious
Uncle
note.
Ken, have you asked the content of the cake?
Rasta, please move.
It's an Onunum based
And Rasta, this is from Joy 99.7 FM and powered by Joy Entertainment.
Rasta is very
just to celebrate and honor you and let you know that you're very, very highly appreciated by this family. We appreciate your contribution to the show. We appreciate the humor you bring to the show. We appreciate the perspectives you bring to the show. And all the research that you have to do before you come and sit here and share your knowledge. So I'm here to celebrate you on this special day, and it's proudly powered by Joy 99.7 FM and of course Joy Entertainment. And there's also a special presentation from Starbites. We have something from Starbites outside as well, and Starbites also got some celebration for you. So Uncle Ken, please let us do the rightful thing. Yes. Let's cut it. The man is stunned. The man. Jesse, you were saying? Yeah, you were saying something?
Every celebration will be better than the celebration before.
Oh,
So
exactly.
as I'm seeing the standard you are setting now,
It is going up.
June is coming.
Rasta, before you cut, we'll say a few lines of poetry. JQ.
Yes.
Before you cut a few lines of
We have to say a few lines of poetry.
And I'll say one. You also
Yes.
say.
Let's go, gentlemen.
Dear Rasta, may you blaze through life with the fumes of hope and perseverance. And may the coming decades be kind to you. And may you attain the greatest of your potential.
Yeah, here.
You called him Rasta. You Kwame, what the old crass said, over Yaku and so no one me. To your default sign, your therefore. At I throw a twamp him, may name throw a twam fum. Two naya fum now, dear Sima Poma beer.
Where?
Now I would
Need to have my own.
Okay, go ahead.
Dear Rasta, who is your girlfriend?
George, I guess so.
Go ahead, Jesse.
One line.
Sharp.
Dear Rasta, as Chief said, blaze through.
That's all.
It's Showbiz A to Z. It's Showbiz A to Z.
And that's how we wrap it up on another exciting edition of the show. Special thanks to my panel. We had a full house today. Nana Sasso was here, Chief Mumin was here, Uncle Kennedy was here, Jesse Amwe Japan was here, Sadiq Abdullah Abu, CEO of 3 Music Awards was here, and of course the birthday boy Kwame Rasta himself was here. Special thanks to Starbites. Hey, shouts to you, Jet, Lauren Joyce Lane, everybody out there, Eric, very, very, very big